Recording to cloud.
Okay, I'm going to admit everybody and mute myself. Here we go.
Okay. And we are recording, right? Well, hi, everybody, and welcome. We're recommencing the best we can with the Ask programs and the various broadcasts and webinars. So this is the day that is assigned for identification or identify as being. And you know that this particular line of thought is quite abstruse, if I can call it that. It is a line of thought that goes beyond the particularities that we normally deal with in the ageless wisdom. I mean, when we study the ageless wisdom, we do learn a lot. We learn a lot about the interaction of all the various emanations which fill out any universe. You know, of course, according to the theory of the great breath, there are endless universes and always have been. But in any particular universe, there are specific types of interactions according to archetypal laws which were created at the beginning of the universe within the mind of the great deity of the universe. Let's call that deity the universal logos. And you know, we have no, it's all theoretical. We have no idea. That is such a immensely high being. We have no idea really what's going on those levels, but we can speculate, you know. And that deity, which is the in-universe, universal logos, is really an extension of the greatest God of all, the transcendental post and pre-universe. What did I call it? The supra, it means above, right? Supra, the supra-universal deity. And I'm going to, you know, today we're going to have a review. Well, there's always so much to talk about. We'll see what we're able to do. That great transcendental deity is the one and only acting God. The absolute is everything, but the absolute does not act from the absolute in a manner that still is almost impossible to understand. I think it's impossible to understand. The transcendental deity arises, the supra-universal deity arises from the absolute. Now, how that happens with the absolute never changing at all, that is, for me, the mystery of mysteries. But in any case, once the supra-universal deity exists, it creates the infinitude of universes. So, in a way, I'm sorry, in a way, you could say, we've been doing this forever. There never has been a time, and time, in a sense, to the absolute doesn't even exist. It's the greatest of all illusions. Of course, that means that the great breath that Madame Blavatsky talks about is an illusion, but that great breath has been breathing forever. And it turns out that we are intimately involved with that cycle of universe, no universe, universe, no universe. The whole universe, any universe, is a perception. It's a perception in the consciousness of the supra-universal deity. Now, at the same time, that deity can reflect itself either as a homogeneous, infinite entity that can act, or it can reflect itself as absolute infinitude, completely articulated, filled with every manner conceivable of completed infinitudes. Now, that's the big difference between what's going on in a universe and what goes on when there is no universe, which is cyclically the case. There is no completed infinitude within any universe. Now, that's probably an important thought. There are hints about ongoing possibilities for completed infinitudes. But, what is a completed infinitude anyway? A finite universe cannot contain such a thing. So let's put it this way. We've got to make it easy and as simple as possible, so for our own sake, so that somehow we can get a little bit of this. Any universe is finite, but the supra-universal, transcendental, whatever you want to call it, supra-universal deity, the one and only deity, is infinite. And its reflection is absolute infinitude. Now, as hard as it is to understand that, when we deal with the absolute, we're dealing with something higher still, something higher than the absolute deity. The absolute, or absoluteness, or, you can come up with a lot of names. No name can grasp it. But this absolute does not act. It does not get in there and cause the appearance of universes. It is everything. That's its distinction. And at the same time, it's no thing at all. If you can get my meaning. It's not that it's nothing, it's just that it's the great no thing. Now, why in the world apply our consciousness or our mind to these things, or to these kinds of subjects? And I can only say, my own point of view, that something absolutely fundamental, something substantial is missing unless one pursues being. Now, DK tells us that when we are preparing, and one day we will, when we are preparing for the third initiation, we have to have some sense of what the monad delivers to our consciousness. And the heart of the monad is pure being. So we can be extremely intelligent and know how everything works with everything else and all that. And that's very good, because more and more we come into that stage of growing omniscience, an expanding omniscience. But unless we know and experience a little bit about what being is, we are missing the fundamental out of which everything arose. And, Indian music from the subcontinent India kind of has that idea that, and its languages also have that idea. There is a bar. It's like a continuous line. And from that ongoing substantial, I want to call it a pedal tone, all other notes arise. So, Indian music would not be what it is without that ongoing reference to the ever-sustained bar. And the language is the same. When you write Sanskrit, and maybe it's used otherwise too, there is the substantial source which never changes, but out of it comes all the variety of the letters and the sounds and everything that we associate with multiplicity. So this subject in which we are engaged is not an easy subject, because in a way it is so utterly simple. It's the simplest no thing that exists. It exists, and yet it's not nothing. It's a no thing, meaning there's no variety in it. It is only what it is. And that is its substantial nature belongs to itself alone. And out of it, you and I and everything else arise as emanations in a finite universe. So, there are realizations that we can begin to come to, and it will begin to put our life in the universe into a state of synthesis. Now, a lot of us, we talk about synthesis, okay? I'm not sure we know what we're talking about, frankly. Synthesis and being are intimately related. And usually what we're working for as we develop our love nature and our wisdom nature is some kind of unity, some kind of harmonious interplay which reflects the archetypes which are supposed to be developed in any particular universe. So our stage right now, and it's not a very high stage yet, is to develop a sense of unity out of all that chaos that comes from maladjustment between emanations. Now, let me repeat that. There's a kind of chaos in this world of becoming, because our world of becoming does not yet truly reflect the high archetypes which determine the purpose of any universe. Well, forget the universe. What about just the planet itself? There are archetypes that are established that will guide the proper development of our planet. But so far, there is a lot of chaos, and the various things within a universe, or rather within our planet, don't interact properly. There's a maladjustment. Now, a lot of us aspire to be members of the new group of world servers, that helping group which probably, I think, began to be established around 1925, almost 100 years ago, when the ashrams of quite a few of the masters moved from off the higher mental plane onto the Buddhic or plane of harmony, the Buddhic plane of harmony. And that is where they are found today, especially ashrams that relate to the rays 2, 4, and 6. And the new group of world servers was established to draw forth the truly open hearts of those in many different countries who wanted to work for the welfare of humanity and wanted, let's just say, a closer interplay between the various ashrams. So we're working on that, on establishing the sense of unity and love and wisdom with our fellow human beings. And it's really a vitally important step in this rather chaotic world. However, these speculations that we are entering into here require a somewhat different faculty. In addition to all our work for the new group of world servers, it requires the faculty of recognizing being, or of being. Being is so subtle. Before anything or any entity is what it is, qualitatively, it simply is. Everything in the universe shares this isness first. The isness of anything, and all things are really perceptions, okay? The isness of anything precedes what that thing is relative to other things. I'm looking here at a candle. I'm in our little temple of silence. I'm looking at a candle and its candlestick and its function, its quality, light, heat, and a kind of a ceremonial usefulness. And I'm looking over here at a chair. The function and the qualities of these two items of perception are different from each other. One has one purpose and quality, and the other has another and different purpose and quality, but they share identical isness. They are. They exist in the Mahamaya. That means the great illusion. Every universe itself is a kind of Mahamaya, a great illusion. So here, qualitatively, you may be very different from other human beings, but existentially, in terms of your beingness, you share an identical factor, this isness. So everything is before it is anything in particular. And, the goal of some of our inquiries will be to somehow prove to ourselves, and this is a little mantra that I use all the time. That doesn't mean I have successful realization of it all the time. Sometimes I get lucky, okay? This is the mantra. Isness is I-ness. I. Isness is I-ness. And you're going to discover yourself, the real self, once you peel away all the other layers. You're going to discover yourself as the source of everything. Now, that sounds a little presumptuous, and it's one of those lock him up and throw away the key statements. But somehow what you are pervades everything you see and register. It's all an extension of you in your highest nature. Now, that does not mean that you can suddenly become inflated and drop the tasks that you have as a tiny little, as Tibetan calls it, microscopic man. That's what he calls it, that what we are, microscopic man. Microscopic man has certain things it has to do to rise slowly along the ladder of emanation by means of which it descended into the tiny condition in which it now exists. I call that, you might want to make a note of that, this type of progress I call emanative retraction. You came down through the process of emanation The Buddhists know this very well. They have all these tankas and works of art that somehow describe this. You came down through emanation, becoming a tinier and tinier fragment of the universal logos, which you really are. And you have to make your way back. You know, of course, it's beyond the human mind to understand why all this is really happening. But I suspect it's not about self-improvement. Now, you know, think of it that way. People say, well, I'm getting better and better and better, and one day I will, and so forth. That is true within the confines of finitude in a universe. But it is not true, at least I think not, with regard to your authentic identity, which finally, when all the veils, including the veil of bounded universal perception, that's a veil, when all of those veils are lifted, you're going to find yourself to be truly an infinite being. So, you know, we don't want to escape from our microcosmic responsibilities by saying, oh, I'm an infinite being. You're both. You're in the Mahamaya, which is the universe, and cyclically and forever, you are withdrawn from the Mahamaya into the supra-universal world. Now, maybe we can get a glimpse of that, you know. Here, as we begin to think along these lines, which are the lines of recognizing being. I mean, and it's a good day if you can recognize being on that day. That's a good day. If we begin to retract along the stream that we descended from, we're going to fuse with other entities, and it will still be who we are. You know, DK tells us about certain groups of solar angels. I forget, is it 49 of them? I don't know if he gave the number, but groups of solar angels who combine to make a planetary logos. Well, in their identity, they are no longer that little thing. They share identity with every other solar angel in that grouping. Identity is such a strange thing. Now, I wonder if I can, let's see if I can, I don't know. Listen, this is not going at all the way I planned. I'm you know, talking about certain things that I didn't necessarily plan to talk about. But let me just check something here. I want to, yeah, here it is, under D, and I'll show it to you in a minute. And if I don't, the team that's supporting me in this will let me know, you know. So this is AAB diagrams, and somehow down here I'm going to find, will it be Parabram? Let's see. Yes, it is. So now I'm going to use that, show my screen. Okay, now you see it, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is from the Theosophist, and it's a wonderful diagram showing how the many become the one. Every seven fuse themselves into a one. And it doesn't mean that within that one, they identify only as the little part that they were. It means their identity becomes much more inclusive, so that indeed they are the one into which they have been fused. And on it goes, and I don't know how far it should go. You know, the extent of the map doesn't make too much difference, and there are some, actually, it looks like some mistakes here, but that doesn't make any difference. It's the idea behind it. When you look at another individual, you oftentimes will say, well, that person is that person and I am I. Now, from the microscopic level, or the little microcosmic level, that is true and practical and filled with Maya. But from a more essential level, and it's, you know, it's like a slippery fish, you know, you try to hold on to something that's slippery and it slips out of your hands. Later, it will not. When you look at another person or any entity, you're going to know that what the Tibetan said is true one day. And by the way, we've all experienced this numerous times. The mantra is, "Naught is but me." That's the great second ray inclusive mantra. Naught is but me. And I assume we are recording. Is that correct, Michael? It is recording?
Yeah, we're still
I
recording.
hope. Is anybody there?
Yeah, we're still recording, Michael.
Okay. Yep, we are. Okay. So it's a different kind of perspective. You can wake up in the morning or whatever and go through the day where everything is different from everything else. Or you can recognize in your consciousness a quality, well, I don't want to use the word quality, a state of being in which everything that you can perceive and even not perceive is included in that state. Everything is. Now, it's so simple, you know, that you might wonder, why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to grasp? Yet, if we could get rid of the interference, which is the glamorous belief that multiplicity is real, it's actual, but it's not real. If we could get rid of that notion that multiplicity is real, then the whole universe, and this is also from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, the whole universe would be taking place within ourselves. Now think of that for a moment. You know, we're just little emanations normally, and we have very limited scope of consciousness, limited scope of radiation, of power, very limited. And yet there is a sense that the great ones have, and greater ones, that the whole universe is taking place within themselves. Now you have to throw away a lot of baggage to get to that point. And it is very elusive, slips away from you easily. But one day we join 7 into 1, 7 into 1, 7 into 1. One day we will identify as one of the 7 spirits before the throne. And that's not the end. We will identify with the oneness that includes those 7 spirits. I sometimes have told the story when I was a naughty little boy at the age of 4 or 5. I used to like to break thermometers on the dining room table. And all the mercury inside, I guess I didn't know it was poisonous, you know. Maybe that's what happened. Anyway, here are all these little beads of mercury scattered on the dining room table. And, you know, after a while, my grandmother, my mom, she just let me play with it because I was going to do it again, you know. And have you ever seen when a little bead of mercury touches another little bead of mercury? What happens? They become one larger bead of mercury. Now, finally, I got them all together and they just became one thing, a kind of a little pool of mercury without divisions. So it was kind of a lesson. It showed me that you can put things back together after you've taken them apart, and that the whole universe is filled with entities that at a certain point in their development want to get back together until the very top of this finite universal expression is found, and all the parts are now one larger, well, pool of mercury, as it were. It's all one thing. Now, I think this kind of thing has to be worked on a little bit every day. We have to be practical. We're still very little human beings, not very enlightened. We're filled with misinterpretations. The concrete mind is blocking us in so many ways. Our emotions are leading us into glamours and are veiling things that are more true, and it's all chaotic. The lower parts of our planetary manifestation have not yet been put back together in the right way. an archetypal way. They have to reflect the archetype. So we'll be humble about it. Humble that we are tiny, not very powerful, not very wise, not very extensive, and we are beset by illusion, glamour, and Maya. But we can work our way out of that, just the way the Christ did, just the way the Buddha did. And of course, before them came other great sages who did the same. They worked their way out of it. The Buddha spoke of suchness. What's that? Well, suchness, is there even such a word? It is the substratum of all perceptions. Suchness is the substratum of all perceptions. And he had that. He lived in a world in which consciousness revealed to him being. And we can say the same with the Christ. They had maybe a different emphasis, but these are cosmic touches of the sixth initiation, the monadic initiation, which belonged to them. The Buddha touched the cosmic mental plane. We don't know what level, but he did touch the cosmic mental plane during his sixth initiation. The Christ touched the cosmic astral plane, the plane of what we would call pure love, compared to the kind of love we have on the cosmic physical, at the sixth initiation. And now both of them are going farther as they prepare at the end of the Aquarian age to be initiated by the planetary logos and go on the way of higher evolution, whatever paths they have chosen. We're told that the Christ has chosen the ray path, path number 5. He will become, how does one do this? He will become a ray of pure love. And eventually he'll make his way to Sirius. And the Buddha, what path will he take? Who knows? He's equipped to do so many things. I suspect it will be a different path than the Christ. And all of that lies ahead of every one of us if we can begin to think under the impress of the spiritual triad. Soul thought we have not achieved, and we will be achieving it. But triadal thought of the abstract mind and of the Buddhic transcendental mind, these are things that we're working on, things that lie ahead. And as we build the Antakarana, these states will be opened for us. Now, meanwhile, of course, humanity has a lot of trouble at much lower levels than what we're talking about here. But if somehow this sense of being can empower us, and if somehow we can begin to contain what we see and to realize it's all a reflection of what we essentially are, we will be empowered to help more effectively. Yeah. So, this is a good map. Oop. Suddenly I didn't have any sound. This is a good map for people interested in the process of amalgamation, the coming together of the many as the one. It's not like you are a little granule of identity within these larger entities. The truth of the matter is, you become that larger entity yourself until you return to being the one which essentially you are. Now, I have to say that I really didn't do what I was planning to do. I kind of improvised a little bit, and maybe the next time I'll go over that meditation that I've prepared, or what I call them is kind of lecture meditations. Let's see if I can, these foundational principles, if you're a member of the group, and I think that probably everybody here has signed up for Identify as Being group, you'll get these notes from me, these documents from me, and I'm not going to go through that because we can only stand so much. But maybe next, yeah.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to let you know that I will post those with the recording to Makara.
Oh, okay, great. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's good. And several ways of accessing all of this stuff. Thank you. Now, let's see if I have a kind of a document here, which I also want to, yes. I have a document called What Precedes What? And it's a kind of every one of these little seed thoughts is what I would call a ponderable, These are principles. And if we can make our way into these principles, then I think the veil will begin to lift. So I'll go over that with you. Tonight is the ingress meditation that Tuya is doing, starting in about an hour and 10 minutes, and it will be a broadcast to the usual, our usual YouTube link. So I don't want to get too heavy into this right now, because the idea of welcoming Gemini is important. And over the next number of days, let's see if I have anything that indicates it. Yeah, kind of I do. And I'll show it to you. And I hope it's the right one. We were working on this master schedule, So at Tuya is going to begin I guess it's just gone into Gemini as we're talking. It looks like. No. At 7:37 p.m. GMT. That's good. So we can celebrate the ingress together in Tuya's broadcast. And then coming up, we have a little bit of Cosmic Fire tomorrow night at the same time this one started. And then we have some very busy days. There's going to be an Esoteric United Nations meeting on Sunday, the 23rd. There's going to be a Pentecost service at 7 p.m. And Tuya is going to include the keynote of love in that service. Remember that before the Gemini full moon, there are 3 days with 3 separate keynotes: love, resurrection, and contact, before the Gemini full moon. So Monday at it looks like 7. I don't know why it's not 7:15, but it says 7. Okay. We're going to be working, actually, this is a mistake. Resurrection comes next. And okay, it's not going to allow me to change that, but resurrection comes next. And then on Tuesday, contact, in that order, believe it or not. And then comes the full moon in Gemini at 9:30 a.m. GMT. And there will be sacred pentagram work as well. I think we have a few little corrections to make on this master calendar, but we will do that and somehow get it out to you. So the Gemini in the labors of Hercules, it's a very long labor. Let's see. Yeah, a very long labor. Hercules has 5 encounters. He doesn't listen to Nereus, the intuition. Then he fights Antaeus, who is the precursor of the Hydra. Then he is enslaved to the false teacher Busiris. Then he helps to unchain Prometheus, who are the solar angels. And finally, he helps Atlas hold up the world. So it's a lengthy labor with lots of things going on. And DK also gives us the idea that we should have 3 pre-full moon meditations before the actual Gemini full moon. So whatever corrections we need to make here, and it looks like there are a couple of corrections. Resurrection is not the 3rd, it's the 2nd, and contact is the 3rd. We'll make them and get them to you. All right, so I think that's all I have to say about that for now. And let's see where we are here. I want to put up some, we're going to have questions and answers here now. And I'll put up this what precedes what, I might as well do that. Yeah. Now, if for a little while we can talk about thoughts that you have had in that kind of presentation that I offered, that kind of rambling presentation, and what may have occurred to you and what questions you may have. So, test. Let's see, I hope BL, are you hearing me adequately?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay, sometimes I look at my little microphone here and it just doesn't look like it's doing much. So, okay, good. So if we have a few things in the chat box, and or if you would like to speak or ask a question or make a statement, I'm going to cut off relatively earlier today because the ingress is very important and we have to make sure that, that's working properly. It's a different computer and a different system, and so I have to do that, get that ready. So do we have anything in the chat, BL?
No, just the public announcements. Michael put the identify as being Google Group address in there. And I put the Sun Ingress and the, both Michael and I put the broadcast link in there. So, but I don't see any comments or chats from the attendees yet.
Okay. Okay, now I want to say a little something about Google Groups. People feel this way and that way about Google, but ever since Yahoo Groups became defunct, there was no way to reach you all just through email. And through Google Groups, we can do that. So a lot of our lists, all of our Yahoo Groups lists disappeared. But of course, we knew it was coming and we saved the material. But it's just a convenience to have the Google Groups so that if something has to be sent out to everybody quickly, it can be done. And that will be a convenience for all of us. Now, are there any questions or statements that you have?
I don't see any yet, and I don't see any hands.
It's a big subject. It is a big subject. We have enough problem just trying to control our emotions, think with clarity, straighten out our physical plane life. Let's be realistic about where we are. But every once in a while, you like to think about what you really are. And I would say that so many of us suffer from a state of mistaken identity. Now think about that, We think we are one thing. And in a way we are, of course. But really, when you start lifting the veils, you see more. And your whole sense of who am I begins to change. Now, actually, that who am I question was utilized by a very wise man. His name was Ramana Maharshi. Ramana Maharshi. He was a guru in India and much respected. The psychologist Carl Jung called him the whitest spot on a white space. So he had a lot of reverence for Maharshi. And he had this technique called the Vicharya. And it basically consisted of just asking yourself repeatedly, who am I? And, attempting to answer the question. And in the process, more and more of the veils would lift, and the beads of Mercury would come together, and you would begin to realize that you're a much larger being than you think you are here in this Mayavic world. I mean, Maha is the word that means great. Maya is the illusion. So the universe is like a great illusion, but the veils can lift. And when you are studying Rule 10 in the rays and the initiations, and I hope that you will dedicate yourself to some real study, because the Tibetan is given so much, you find that Moses ripped through a veil. He was called the lawgiver. You find that St. Paul made an opening in the veil using the first ray and the idea of synthesis. And you find that the Christ made the biggest tear in the veil, the rent, R-E-N-T, in the veil. The veil of the temple was rent from top to bottom. And that is that makes him the great world teacher. And he could let in, for the sake of humanity, the higher energies. So let's just, is there anybody that would like to say something or ask something?
Yes, we have a couple of comments. Lenore says, interesting topic and food for thought. Thank you. And Jesse says, would it be true to say that we are everything we come into contact with during each specific life, everything and everyone?
Yes, it's true to say that, and more. Because not only, well, the second ray thing, not is but me. So indeed, we are, the word intra means within, right? So we are everything intra-universally, in universe, everything. But let's extend it. What happens when there is no universe? When that self-perception of the greatest God beyond the universe, when that deity is free of creating a universe, as cyclically it is free, we are all that too. We are that deity and his own self-reflection as absolute infinitude. In other words, it's a big stretch, okay? But there is nothing that essentially we are not. We are everything in universe and supra-universe. And the only danger with that thought is that people will neglect the duties that are put upon them in their confinement in the tiny, ignorant state. Because in a way, we are also tiny and ignorant. And we have certain things we have to do to change that. And if you walk around and say infinite this, infinite that, I've seen people misuse that word so much, you may neglect the duties that you have to liberate yourself as a tiny emanation from your confinement. So no excuses for anyone. We have to liberate the confined human being into something higher. But yes, coming back to the main statement, is it fair to say that we are everything? Yes. Naught is but me. And obviously, this is a kind of, Blavatsky would call it a philosophical pantheism. Only we are the theos of it. Pan is everywhere, God everywhere, God in everything, God as everything, and isness is I-ness. We are that. So I would recommend to anybody a dual track of study and meditation. One where you're taking care of all the necessities, coming in touch with your soul, your higher power, whatever you want to call it, coming in touch with the spiritual triad, doing all the things that need to be done by microscopic man, and every once in a while thinking about the really big picture, which is a change of identity. And it's worth considering until it becomes easier and easier to slip into that wholeness, if I may call it that. Okay. Thank you for the thought. Anything else there, BL?
No, I don't see anything else.
Okay. Well, maybe that's good because, we have to get ready for the ingress into Gemini. The energies are changing now. It's a great second ray sign. It's called the head of the cosmic Christ. It's in a portion of the sky which is very illuminated, when you can see it. And we'll adapt and go into the new energy and then build ourselves up, our causal bodies and so forth, build our egoic lotus using the infusion of Gemini energy. That's what we will be doing. So, yeah, it's nice to see you all here. The magic number 22. Well, maybe it's 23 now. Okay. We'll continue, Tui and I, the best we can do. I have to tell you, the conference was a long one. And maybe we knocked ourselves out a little bit. And there were so many other things to take care of after it that we had a bit of a pause. And occasionally we will have those kinds of pauses because, I want to say we're only human, although not quite true, but, and, have to take care of the vehicle so it can live to fight another day. So let us close, friends, with the great invocation. And whatever else we do, the most important thing happening on our planet right now is the reappearance of the great world teacher, the Christ. Every eye shall see him, and we want to be among those who recognize the great Lord and can help others do the same. So the great invocation. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men. The purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Oh. 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 Thank you, everybody, for attending. And the schedule, monthly schedule, I think we have the schedule filled out until July. We have a few corrections to make, but we'll give you an idea of when the different broadcasts and Zoom webinars will be offered. And, you know, maybe some of you are going to want to attend the ingress, which begins in about 45 minutes. And, you know, we'll start a little bit of pre-music beforehand and so forth. And that will be on your YouTube channel. So thank you, BL. Thank you, Michael Crow, tech team, and thank you, everybody. And we'll be in touch with you quite soon. And thank you for your kind thoughts. See you soon. Bye-bye.